All right. I guess I'm live from the short stream. Hey, Commander, how are you? You're welcome to join if you want. I've invited a couple other people to join, and we're going to talk about the fun stuff that I like talking about, which is motorcycles, and trucking, and what's wrong with the world and why it's worth laughing at. And I think I'm going to talk. I'm going to talk about fat shaming and why it's funny, but also why it probably should stop. So we'll see how things go here. And I find it interesting. With some people about this. I know it's not coming because I listen to it. I listen to it in real life, and I can't hear it back. But when I speak to people in real life, apparently I have a great broadcasting voice, but none of the equipment I have is good for that. So, here I am drinking my healthy drink. This is recommended by a doctor. I don't know what PhD Dr. Pepper has, but probably has something to do with capsaicin. So, welcome. You just have to lay down to find a position where my arm isn't killing me. Oh shit, Commander, that sucks. That sucks. I have had that issue many times. I have a pain in my left shoulder blade back, my sort of upper back between my spine and my shoulder blade that just won't go away. And I'm going to get physiotherapy for it, but I haven't had a chance to schedule that. I've had too many other appointments for me and the kids, and I can't take that much time off of work. And I also tore my calf, my gastrocnemius. I tore it a little over 3 weeks ago, and I've recovered almost completely. So I'm going to start weightlifting this week. I don't know if today's the day. I think I should give it one more day because it's still a little tender, but it doesn't feel torn. I think it's healed up. So we can talk weightlifting. We can talk about anything anybody wants. But so when I was at the conference, that was 2 weekends ago, I think. I can't remember now. I can't remember much of anything anymore. Hey, Amber, welcome. Hell, and Hail Sagan. I think it was Sagan's birthday recently. Somebody posted in another stream about that. So, Hail Sagan and Hell to the chief. Is that what we could say? I don't know. I wouldn't be careful about appropriating language from other cultures. I think the Americans say "hail to the chief." Is that right? So I used to be the chief constructionologist at my previous job because I didn't want to be the chief executive officer, which was officially my proper title. I don't want to be a CEO. I don't want to associate with people like that. It's just kind of toxic and it has bad connotations. So, but in my previous life, I knew a shit ton about construction. I spent literally my whole adult life for 28 years, plus probably a number of years before that. Like first time I worked on a construction site, I was 12 years old. When I was 13, I was doing pretty major construction, working on a construction crew, and I did it casually for years after that. And then when I was 17, I started doing it full time. In terms of like, it was about 40 hours a week. And then there was a little bit more and less of that going on. So anyway, yeah. So I just got a message. So I did post a StreamYard link for people that want to jump in and have a conversation. Please make comments in the comment section about things you want to talk about. I'm going to talk about, so I know I've talked about this before, and this one stands out because there was an eclipse a few weeks ago, and I went and delivered this piece of equipment, but when I went to go pick it up, it was at a client. We work for the client all the time. I don't haul much of their stuff because it's smaller, and thankfully for me, they give me a lot of work with the bigger equipment. I think it also works for my employer. You're here. Are you in the thing, Commander? I see you here in the chat, but I don't see you asking to come in, which is weird. So I don't know how. Okay, Commander, if you're in asking to be in, please let me know. Please let me know. But I see you here. I see you here in the written chat. But I appreciate it. I don't see you asking to come in. I don't know if I screwed up something. I don't think I did. We'll see. We will see. All right. So I got out this thing to share because I'm not sure if I'm gonna talk about anybody else's content or anything. But I've been thinking about other people's content because I've been having conversations with people that do commentary on other content. You're in the only position where you're not in pain. Well, Commander, I hope that gets better. You just sit, lay, stand wherever it feels good. All right. That's what counts. That's what you got to do. I want you to look after yourself because when you're in the trucking business, there's a fair bit of physical activity and there can be a lot of, and I think this is the type of trucking you do, Commander, where you're sitting in one position. And I mean, other than like, shifting gears and stuff, like you kind of end up just kind of sitting there a lot of the time. And I very seldom get loads where I can use cruise control, but I was lucky to come back empty. Just for my own sanity, I would have rather been loaded because it would make more money for the company, and probably I would have gotten a few more hours. But coming back empty means I can use cruise control on a lot of roads, even ones with some hills. And the trailer they sent me with was not one of our heaviest ones because some of our heavy trailers. Hey, Maya, welcome. It is good to see you in the chat, and you're welcome to come to the thing. And I would like if people that are trying to get in and I can't get in, let me know if I've like posted the wrong thing. But I did copy and paste the invite. So yeah, so I'm thinking I want to tell this story again about this thing because this is the type of stuff people say. And Maya actually in Brentley's thing said, "Hey, is fat shaming still going on?" Well, it is, and maybe people think they're just joking around, right? So sometimes like people don't really get what a large person I am, which is pretty hard. Um, and sorry, my wife is sending me a message about something I'm already working on, but I will work on it. I'll work on it harder. Um, I'm gonna send my sister a message, so I'm gonna do that while I'm talking about this. So there was an eclipse, and then this guy came out and said, "We should call you the eclipse because you block out so much of the sun." And yeah, I'm a big guy. I'm not. It's not just that I have an enormous belly. Which I'll show you all in a minute. Just hang on. Because I can't think and type at the same time. Anyway, I'm gonna get up, and like this is my body. This is like how large I am. Oh, I'm disappearing. That'd be good. That would be good. And then like I'm really broad shouldered. Like I have a massive back. Is my back showing? Does this microphone make my butt look big? That's what I want to know. Oh, Maya, get that coffee going. I've already had about 45 ounces of coffee and half a diet Dr. Pepper. So I'm starting to get somewhere. Anyway, yeah. So is that funny? Yeah. It's funny. It's funny to make fun of people for their size, sure. And it's one of those
Okay, am I here? All right. I just want to know. That's a good one. That's a good one. Okay. Can anybody tell me if I'm visible? I just want to know if I'm visible. Um, so I'm here on this. So like it looks like our house internet just went down. So I'm gonna work on that in the meantime. Then I'll see if I can get back on. But basically, it's been doing this a lot, and we've ordered. I'm back. Okay, awesome, awesome. So I can do this from my phone for now. And yeah, no, my wife didn't do it. My wife actually just she just shouted down at me because our we don't have like an insulated basement ceiling, so she's just shouting through plywood. So yes, that's good. I'm glad I'm back. I'm glad I'm back. So I'm trying to get this thing to like go back to normal. But anyway, I'm not sure what I was saying, but I'll still entertain people if the stream link is the same. Hopefully, hopefully this works. Um, all right, there we go. Awesome. I think I was clicking on comments and I wasn't even intending to. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to try turning this off for a little bit longer. I'm going to unplug this Ethernet cord because I think it might be causing issues. Oh, it seems like, okay, that is really good. That is really good. Thank you, PC. Yes, and if anybody watches this in the future, StreamYard reminds me to thank you for coming and invite you to, like, subscribe, and lick lick the button an odd number of times, because if you do it twice, it goes away. Or dislike it, and comment about why you hate what I do and why you would love it so much more if I did it different. So I'm just gonna wait a couple of minutes. So here's what here's what I was saying. Like, people will just, because I'm such a large person, they'll come up to me and just say crazy shit, and they think it's a great way to engage. And I guess it is. Why shouldn't they? Why shouldn't they talk to me like that? Why shouldn't they disrespect me and who I am as a person, whether or not I am a person, just based on my body? I mean, we do it to people for all sorts of other reasons, and it's totally right and legit that people should do that. So making funny jokes about how enormous I am is really cool. And so when I was going to do my presentation in Montreal, I took this out of my presentation. I was going to mention the fact that when I was in high school, my last year there, my grad photo was up because I technically graduated the year before, and I still took a few courses to finish because as I said, I was working full time at 17. So it took me an extra year to finish all the courses I needed to get into university, which I never ended up really going to, other than as a night school student. But at that time, I still thought maybe I would attend university full time for a bit, get a degree in something. And so I did kind of a half load. And oh, your connection is slow. All right. All right. I'm sorry if I'm making everybody slow here, but I'm on a cell phone connection right now, which actually is pretty good around here. With my new cell phone service. My old cell phone service, that was me just turning things back on here. So my old cell phone service was terrible. I could barely make a phone call at home, and I had to stand in certain places in the house to get a signal. Someone made a fat joke telling me you're so rude. I perceive you have been with Jesus. Yes, you're so rude. I perceive you have been with Jesus. Well, yes, that sounds about right. I think that makes sense. Whoa, kid, are you okay? Did you miss a step? Or my child had trouble coming down the stairs. She slipped. Yeah, Commander, that's when people make comments about that, it's not fair, it's not right. Um, and you know what? Oh, you're in West Texas. All right, I hope you found a good spot. I hope you found a good spot. Yeah, I'm seeing if this will come back. It's not doing well so far. It's not doing well so far. So I'm just hopefully you guys can still hear me. I know I know signals sort of go in and out, but I'm going to try resetting this unit as well because it could be that my Wi-Fi router is just on its way out. Like it may be dead. We seem to get a year or two out of them, and then they're dead. And they run. I mean, they run 24/7, right? Like they're doing something in the house 24/7. They're not always like perfect. Oh, PC, I love your cowboy emoji. I'm putting that one up there. I love it. All right. We're going to see what happens here if we get some signal. If we get it, we get it. If we don't, we don't. I may have to go shopping at the tech store today and buy a new Wi-Fi router because, like, that may be the issue. And if this thing doesn't start up, oh, it's doing well. It's doing well. I think we're going to get somewhere. Anyway, I also, PC, I don't know if that's it. Bring up my weight, but I'm the opposite. Yeah, Sumami, that's not cool either, right? Like, and some people, I have a couple of like really tall friends, and people will, so like I'll talk to them about stuff like that. We'll joke around about it together, which is different because we're friends. Yes, buddy. So, sorry, I was, yeah, you know what? It's hurtful to make fun of people and make jokes about their appearance, for any reason, but it's particularly wrong when you don't know the person, right? I think sometimes we self-deprecate, right? And I think Sumami, you made a comment. And I think you were like freaked out about how big my neck is, and I think you thought my neck circumference was similar to your waist, and it very well may be. My neck is, you can't see it really. I don't have much of one, but it's not very tall. But it is. There's a lot of neck here. Um, and yeah, no, Sumami, it's not. I realize, people just come in different sizes, right? That's just the thing. I happen to have some metabolic disorders that affect my size. Um, and He's semi-comical. So the creepy Russian. Uh, okay. I don't. Well, Commander makes great quality stuff. So for people that are interested in that, please go check that out. I think you'll have a lot of fun with that. Um, I enjoy Commander's takes on things. I'm never 100% sure if everything Commander says is perfectly vetted because it's not meant to be. It's not necessarily meant to be backed up with a ton of citations. But I always find it interesting, and I'm not trying to cast doubt on it. But a lot of it's very funny and points a finger at people and things, institutions that are in positions of power that we should not necessarily take at face value, and I appreciate that a lot. Put fairy wings. Okay, my kids say I look like a thumb. I don't know what that means. PC, have you subscribed to Commander? That is awesome. And subscribe to Ember. I mean, everyone subscribe to Ember. And Maya, thank you for putting that in there. Maya is one of my mods. Maya, I think, is modded on at last count 7 trillion YouTube channels, and also mine. So keep that in mind. And I don't know who else is picking on people because of the way that, yeah. Yeah, no. You know what? I think, Commander, you're right. You're right. And I mean, some people that are in the public eye, maybe we feel like they're fair game, right? Or that their appearance is something that we should talk about. And you know what? Yeah, I think Maya's backing up. I don't know if she's backing up what that is, but yeah, please sub to all these great people. If you somehow know me and you don't know all these other folks, please sub to them. And I'm gonna try something. I don't know what will happen. I'm gonna refresh this. and I'm gonna try to get into my StreamYard. I don't know what'll happen if I go into my StreamYard while I'm already here. But I'm gonna try because I'm here. Enter the studio. Greet my viewers that will watch it later. Enter the studio. My mic is okay. No, don't do this. Holy shit, this was a bad idea. I hope you guys are enjoying this. This is fucking hilarious. Hilarious. Hilarious.
At this stage, here we go. Okay, I need another. How's it going, everyone? Okay. I don't know what that oh wow was, Maya, but yeah. The aliens Dave summoned last month are finally here. Yeah, I think they took me on a ride. They took me on a ride, everyone. And they gave me this like just bitchin' bike here. My bike, my actual bike is blue. Yeah. Yeah, so Sumami, what I did there was when I saw that the internet came back online for the house, just to avoid like eating up all of my mobile data. Yeah, and I don't know what you guys heard, but like I heard myself, like, for those of you that are Star Wars fans, there's like a thing where Rey is in this weird, like, it's like a hall of mirrors, and every voice keeps like repeating, like, not just one echo, but like 19 echoes. That's what I was getting on my end. So I think what was happening was my mic was grabbing my cell phone, or the computer playing it all at once, and I just went to go see if I could still get into StreamYard on the laptop that I borrowed from my son. So yeah. Anyway, I'm gonna say that I really appreciate that people here understand that making fun of size, body size, whether you live in a large body or a small body, that's not cool. It's not cool to make fun of people who are, I think the term they usually use is little people, so people that are extra short. It's not fun to make people with gigantism who are extra tall. But it is interesting, I think, that we come in so many different varieties. But it's not something that we should use to make fun of each other, put each other down. And I realize, especially like in the industry I'm in trucking, people are, I think they're pretty much into taking the piss out of people. I think that's the term we would use, and that's fine. I'm not complaining about that, although I have had people say things that I think are a little bit off. They're a little off. And I don't want to dwell on this, because every time I get on here I start getting on a soapbox about what's shitty in the world. I want to talk about what's cool in the world. So I'm going to try not to grab onto the atomic footballs. And yes, PC, I agree. Pragmatic Crystal. I hope people are subscribed to Pragmatic Crystal too, because I think they do some cool videos. I saw a cat video, I think. I hope I don't have that mixed up. I don't think it's mixed up. But when I'm half asleep, you never know. So yeah, so if people want to talk about specific things, we can. But yeah, I'm gonna. Oh, we have a very lovely person in the green room, and I'm gonna invite them in because they're gonna come in here. This isn't the way we should do this. We should do this like this. Maya.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going great. It's
Can
going
you hear
great.
me?
I love your shirt. It looks like a plate of brownies, but you mentioned you put a shirt on before you came on. And I mentioned that we could probably sell more tickets if you didn't wear one, but you know.
Yeah, tell you what. I just thought it might be rude if I got your channel shut down.
Yeah,
Didn't want to do that
that
to a
would
friend.
kind of suck, because like I have over 40 subscribers now, and that's a pretty good jump from the 4 I had a couple of months ago.
Sorry, coffee went
Yeah.
down the wrong.
Oh, that's okay. That's okay. Yeah. No, you sound Maya sounds good. And there's a little bit of coughing, but just because you have a cough, right? I think that's what you said.
Oh no, the coffee went down the wrong. I should have muted, but
Oh,
I was
I
too
heard
busy
cough.
trying not to like let coffee spew onto my floor. Because
No, you don't want to do that, or onto like you don't want to pull a Dr. Tap and ruin another keyboard.
right, that is so funny.
That guy washes his keyboard like it leaves open so many wonderful, terrible references and jokes when the guy constantly has like a messed up sticky keyboard, but like, that's just childish. So I won't go there.
Yeah, he's funny.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I love that guy.
No, and I know you said you didn't want to. I mean, and I don't want to like ask you to ruin your day, but
No, let's ruin my day. Please ruin my day.
Well, it's just that there are so many like issues that are important, and I don't like people really don't talk about fat shaming in the community. And I don't like talking about issues that don't affect me per se. But I mean, I think people need to understand like what it is that they do. And I think people generally tend to be pretty conscious about not body shaming. But I think the thing that bothers me, it's like, well, if I don't like somebody, then I'm going to, start to ridicule them on this trait that other people probably have in the chat, but I'm not focused on because I'm not talking about them and like that. I don't know.
Yeah, I think we can throw away comments, and I made one the other day in another situation. And it was a more professional setting, and I wanted to take it back, and I thought about it after the fact. And I actually, and then I thought about it again. I'm like, actually, I don't think any of the people that are there, even the people older than I am, are actually in the boomer generation. But someone had said, please don't send any emails or comments on our project that are in all caps because I just can't handle it. That was their claim, right?
Okay.
And Sumami's just made another comment about something that I have, so I'm going to talk about that in a second. But let's not focus on that for 2 seconds.
ADHD.
But so I made this comment. I said, "Don't worry. I only use all caps if I'm actually yelling. I'm not like a boomer who like just uses it as a general matter of course." Because my father did that all the time. He would all caps everything, and he even did it in his writing. Like he would write a note. And if it was like an important note, he'd just write all caps.
Oh, that's funny.
Like if he made himself a list of to-do stuff, and my dad and I worked together for of the 28 years I worked in construction, I think almost 20 of them were with him. So I knew his habits, and he had those habits like from the time he was my age onwards, like and probably before that was his way. And I realized, oh, well, you know what? Some of the people I'm working with on this project are like 15, 20 years my senior.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, yeah, but no, they're not boomers. They're Gen Xers like me. They're just older Gen Xers. So like I didn't actually offend anybody in this conversation, but for a second there, I'm like, yeah, like I only have like a little bit of gray in my beard, and some of these people are completely gray, and they're just a few years older than I am, or more. I'm like, did I offend people? And I was like, oh, I'm not going to take it back because I'll offend them again if I like lump them into people that are older than they actually are. And I was like, you know what? I just got to like step away from the whole thing and not overanalyze it. But yeah, no, like we can do stuff like that. So,
well, I don't think it's I know people talk about overanalyzing, and if you're fixated on something and you can't get off of it, that's one thing. But I think people need to analyze situations a lot more, and people need to get more comfortable with being uncomfortable, I guess.
Yeah.
I think there is, I really hate that there's this thing in the society where anything that makes me uncomfortable is bad. And being uncomfortable is the only way we grow. Uncomfortable is a sign that you're, out of your comfort zone and there's something that you're unfamiliar with. And that should make you excited. Like, oh my God, I'm
Yeah.
frustrated because I don't understand this and I need to dig in deeper. And I'm 43. So there's thankfully rarer times when this happens to me. But like, even with, Trump supporters, let's say, I was just like,
Okay.
I don't understand this. Like, why would you want to live your whole life with all this hatred? And a lot of people, I think, want to brush them off and be like, oh, well, they're just stupid. And I'm like, that people aren't just stupid. There's a reason in their heads for I can't say everything they do. Some of the stuff is just like, well, I've always done it this way.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I
No,
get that a lot.
that's true. Yeah.
But when we're talking about like why I'm voting against my own interest,
Yeah.
I don't want to talk about them like they're a monolith because no group is,
No.
but there are a lot of commonalities. And I was hell bent on understanding because it just frustrated me that badly. I'm like, how do they not understand that they're tearing my country apart and their country apart? And,
Yeah.
for me, the most logical path is, X, Y, and Z. And they think that the country is going to be greater, which is just nuts. The actual opposite will happen if this goes through, and they don't see it. Why?
Yeah.
And the thing is, they're being uncomfortable and they're seeing it as, oh, I feel bad. They're making me feel bad. I must make them feel bad. And that's super simplistic. And again, don't extrapolate that to,
No, I
I'm
think,
making a broad generalization on that.
yeah, and this broad generalization is one I've seen this. I've seen the type of stuff you're talking about, and it's often from someone who's maybe I think the term on the right would be a woke ass something, right?
Okay, sure.
Yeah, and then true, okay, and goddamn, true, yeah. So I'm trying to make everybody see that Sumami is her auto carrot is fucking up again.
I think it's just a feature of autocorrect.
It is, yeah. Auto
Like,
carrot sucks. It's like, yeah,
yeah.
I and because I sometimes am like I'm falling asleep and listening, and then I want to say something, and then
Right.
that's how that whole shitstorm started the other day. And I'm not gonna get into
Oh,
that
okay,
because like
gotcha.
I'm
No,
done
no,
with
no,
it. But
it's fine.
I don't even know why I brought it up again. But it, like, some of the conversation Brentley was having like about the sort of the very one way thinking that exists. It had me thinking about that again, because like I was kind of like pissed off, right? And I think Maya, you
Mhm.
were pissed off about something as well.
Oh, wait, in
And
Brentley's chat or?
in Brentley, yeah, you were talking about how easy it is to get, like, really have your day ruined, and feel like you just got to get up and leave, and that's what I
Oh,
did. And
no, that
actually,
was from Stephanie's thing last night
oh, from,
with
yeah, that's from Stephanie. And I felt the same way, because like I felt like I don't want to get into that because like it's a big conversation, and it was there was a lot of circular bullshit going on, and I don't
well, yeah, no, just broadly,
yeah, go ahead.
Tux has decided in his head, whether he realizes this or not, that he's gonna side with Doug. And we see this with Christians all the time. I'm not saying Tux is a Christian, but
Yeah.
what he's doing is what Christians do. I've decided that I'm on this side, and I'm going to work this in my head however I need to stay on this side. And I admire Steph for going in and trying to talk him out of it, but there was just a very clean break there where it's just like, you've planted seeds and it's time to leave him with his thoughts. Like, and she should have, I tell other
I think,
people
yeah, I think they spent
what
too
they
much
ought to
time.
do. But
Yeah.
for me, I thought there was a very clear break. And, at which point going past is only going to be rehashing the same arguments and rage quitting. And I'm not anti any of those things per se, but I think that when you have conversations, you have to keep the topic in mind, your goal in mind,
Yeah.
and know when to leave. And I mean, know when enough is enough. Like for me, like a lot of people say, "Oh, you can't," which is so weird considering most of us were not natal atheists. Um,
Yeah.
but like you can't change people's mind, and I'm like, no. I mean, it's not true, but like you're not going to snap somebody out of their line of thinking in one conversation. If somebody's over here,
No.
like
Yeah.
staunchly, your goal should just be planting seeds. I need to make a point that we can both agree on and leave them with. And I either need to pick that up in a different day or hope that someone else will pick at that thought that I've left. Like plant seeds. I need to plant seeds and leave. Like that should really be anybody's only goal when talking to somebody who's stuck in the opposite mind frame as them, because you're not getting them out. I mean,
Yeah.
and it's insanely rare. I'm not saying it can't happen. I'm not saying anybody here has never seen it happen. I'm just saying it's insanely rare for an adult to do that to another adult. And the goal shouldn't be, hey, you have to respect my rights. I mean, in one conversation, like even when like in the atheist community, it frustrates the hell out of me that men don't see the latent misogyny that they still hold on to. And in my head, I'm just like, they can't see it because they never experience it. And so, like, I have to kind of plant these seeds and leave some food for thought. And maybe you shouldn't do this, or maybe you should try this instead. It'll work out better for you. It's all about having, how to have these conversations with people. But
Yeah.
yeah, or even just like, man, the racism, holy fuck. And again, it's not
Yeah.
like I hate Maya because she's black. It's like, how dare Maya make more money than me, or how dare, you have a higher degree than me. And not even, it's not, and I understand it's not a conscious thought, but like they'll get mad and like start like the conversation shifts. And I'm like, oh yeah, the misogyny, or oh yeah, the racism. It's just like, it's insane. But
Yeah.
again, I understand that people don't realize what they're doing. My goal is to have less misogyny, less racism, less transphobia, homophobia in the world.
Yeah.
And I understand that to do that, you have to plant seeds. Fat shaming, body shaming, period, I'm a little less tolerant about, because we're all there already. There's no like latent, like shaming with the Christianity. And I'm not saying that Christians don't have standards that they hold. I mean, part of that's more of the misogyny, right? Women
Yeah.
have to be beautiful. Men can do whatever they want. And as long as they're Christian, it's okay.
Yeah.
But,
Maybe in their world, but yeah, no,
right,
I
right.
actually just finished
But the
writing an
average
article about
American,
this
the
topic.
average American can step out of that. Any American Christian understands that, they shouldn't fat shame. And I don't have to plant seeds with that. It's just bullshit. And I can say that, and I can start a fight knowing that I'm going to have the rest of the chat on my side, because like, this is nuts. We've moved past this.
Yeah, like you're not gonna have a few people come in and say, well, but I've actually seen this. I've actually seen chats go this way where they're like, yeah, but this person's fat because they're lazy. I've been in these conversations where they're like, yeah, this person doesn't care about themselves. They don't care about their health. They're an unhealthy person. They shouldn't. And in the trucking community, there's a whole bunch of posts about how being overweight, being obese, having living with obesity or any of its comorbidities are just wrong, and that like why is the government allowing these people to get CDLs and all this other stuff? It's like just
Wow,
because
seriously,
you're
like
overweight does not
you're
mean you're sick, and certain sicknesses do disqualify you, but a whole bunch of other ones don't. And
what?
to think
That's
that
insane to me. So you're fat, so you shouldn't work.
so you shouldn't work, yeah, you shouldn't have a job. You're too late. You're too fat and lazy to have this
Yeah,
job.
yeah.
Like you
Well,
shouldn't
you're
be
just
in this
lazy,
industry.
so clearly you
Yeah.
shouldn't work because
Yeah,
like,
so and it's hard for me as a person who only works 14 hours a day and does a lot of physical work in a day
uh-huh.
to really understand what they mean, because obviously they work way harder than I do, and they're I'm assuming they work 20-hour days and run marathons in the other 4 hours because that's what they do. And maybe they sleep for half an hour a day because they're not lazy. But yeah, it's hard to live with obesity and be called fat and lazy when you're me. It's also hard for
And
anyone else because some people's metabolism has screwed them over to the point where they literally lose their mobility.
yeah.
And
Yeah,
and
that's the thing.
the
But the thing is, I mean, no, I mean,
yeah,
you're trying to apologize for living, and which I kind of take offense to for the same
yeah,
reason I did at text last night. Um, I don't like. Okay, I'm not saying you're fat and lazy. I mean, actually know that you're not lazy. You're one of the hardest workers in the community, like physical
I
work.
don't know that I don't know
Like
that I am, but
I
I'm
cannot
trying
do
my
what you.
best.
No, I'm thin, and I cannot do what you do. I'm just
You could though. You could. You'd have to
uh,
learn it, and you'd have to get
okay.
used to doing
No, no,
it.
no. Yeah, but stop.
Yeah,
Right now, today, you would run circles around me, right? But you're fat and
maybe
lazy. And, people, you know, I
that's Sumami. Sumami isn't like I mean this with absolutely no offense, but I think Sumami actually burns more calories with her passion for her positions
I know,
than
right? She just gets
many
fired
of us
up and the
do.
calories burn off from
That's
rage.
and that's not
Maybe that's
yeah.
my problem too.
Sumami is passionate as fuck about stuff, and I don't know Sumami that well, but I know that I know that they're passionate.
She is,
I
yeah.
know
I think
yeah.
it's she. So, mommy, let me know if I'm misgendering you.
Okay, I don't want to misgender anybody. If you want to if you want to put your gender in the chat to clarify what you prefer, let me know. Because I really try not to get beyond that, but like I grew up in a world where never mind transgender, any sort of like queer LGBT was kind of like the go-to insult, right? I think other people like Robert Reed, Robert motherfucking Reed from Gin and Truth has talked about this, like calling someone gay, like that didn't mean it was literally homosexual.
Right.
That just
It's
meant it was
stupid.
really dumb and stupid. Like that was the
Yeah,
go-to insult.
like the arsler.
But it
Yeah.
yeah, but it also meant you're not gonna be. It's not okay to be that either, right? Like
Right.
there's sort of like the
Exactly.
word. There's two things you didn't want to be as a man or a young man or a boy in my community in my society at like say 12
Hmm.
to 15. There were two
Hmm.
things you didn't want to be. One was a woman, the other one was a gay person or
Right.
a homosexual.
Well, which was
Because
kind of
you were
akin to
constantly
woman.
told how shitty it would be to be either of those things.
Right.
You know,
Or mentally, I don't want to say disabled, but like,
no,
the
but
arsler
like
was the
people
big
with
one. Yeah, like you're
developmental
stupid.
delays.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They're just
yeah, yeah,
stupid. Yeah.
yeah.
So
No,
yeah,
and that was a word that was like tossed around quite a bit too. And it's like
yeah.
I hear it in many places in the
Hmm.
community, and it seems to be almost a cultural thing, whether it's offensive or not.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and I would say Sumami, I appreciate that comment there. And she also made this one which I missed, and sorry, and I have no idea whether Sumami actually smoked crack,
Yeah, I'm
but
not sure how old she is, but I remember
if
that even from the
you,
80s.
yeah. So I don't know Sumami
And I'm not
smoking crack.
asking you to like say your age, but I'm just saying
No, Sumami does not have
I
to
was
share
around in sentient in the
anything they
80s,
don't want to
and
share, but yeah.
yeah,
But
yeah.
and so I would say actually, like if you wanted to offend someone who was gay, 36, so you're so a little over
Yeah,
10 years younger than I am. So like, but still probably not seeing a tremendously different thing.
mhm.
And Ember's upset with capitalism. And I don't know how that came into this conversation, but it probably did. But
Um, yeah, you said something too that made me think about capitalism.
okay,
Oh,
that's
the lazy.
be lazy.
It's
Yes,
bad to
yes.
it's bad to be lazy.
It's bad to be
And
lazy. The worst thing
that
you could be
actually
is not
is
productive.
right,
Yeah,
right. You're not productive. You're not like living up to the expectations of the capitalist for the plebes.
that's
Yeah,
right.
so and not working, people who don't work, they don't deserve money because they're not being productive. It
But
is
how
like
many
a
people work outside of like the traditional like cash for labor workforce and still do some shit?
well, no. The
Oh,
thing is, it had been ubiquitous. Like, I mean, that's
Mommy
how.
remembers that as a teenager became so like when I was yeah.
Yeah, probably the early aughts is when people really late '90s, early aughts is when people started cracking down on
Yeah.
it, and I would say mid to late 2000, early, I mean, aughts. It was like
Yeah.
zeros. It was
So
people were shaming people for using gay as a slur.
for using yeah. So yeah, and the same yeah, I agree with PC on the R slur, and then so the F slur for someone who was queer was kind of that was what you said to offend someone, but
Yeah.
also where I grew up in our common vernacular. And we're all like also I mean Canada, so some of our slang terms. So the F slur was actually also what you would call a cigarette,
Hmm.
and is still used. I
Yeah.
think in the UK pretty
Yeah.
ubiquitously, and I've stopped
Yep.
using it because I don't want it to be misconstrued. And then also, I also
Online,
use
yeah, online you should.
yeah no, and I want to be careful. And I also see another thing like as a trucker and
Uh-huh.
as a biker. There's a word that starts with T that ends in Y that
Hmm.
we used to describe the thing that changes the gear ratio of an engine to a final drive system in a vehicle.
Really?
That word has somehow also become a slur for people in the trans community, and I don't want to offend them
In the
either.
trans community? Wow.
Yeah, but yeah, and also the R slur also is used to describe an engine braking system because it's called
What?
an engine slower using the R word.
Oh,
um right, and
gotcha, gotcha.
I the slang term I use and most truckers use is the Jake or the Jake brake, which thankfully so far Jake brake hasn't become also a slur for anyone else. But let me know if you've been maligned by a brake. um but yeah, so the word the word I don't want to say the word because I don't want to offend people, but the word that word
Yeah,
the slang
don't
term
say the
for
word.
transmission.
Pretty
Yeah,
sure
the
it's
slang term
against
for
TOS.
transmission is also used, and yeah, and I don't want to, it's very tough when language gets usurped by other communities in one way or another, and sometimes it's not good. You started driving a truck and lost weight. Yeah, so you know what, Commander, I weighed 405 before I became a trucker. And I lost, and now I actually just got down below 340 today. Her mother is autistic, picked it up from her using it freely. So you know what? Yeah, the damn Jakes. Ember. Yeah, one day Ember's gonna come on here and have a chat about trucking with Commander and Beck is also a trucker or I think a
Yeah,
former trucker now, but yeah. And
Beck is a
there's a few
former
people here that
trucker.
have trucked
Actually, when I
that
met
you're
him, he was trucking, and
yeah.
he was telling all of us that he was a lesbian, and then there was extra, you know, like just from being perceived as a woman, like that he had to go through, and
Yeah, no, like Beck like so I'm gonna tell a story about Beck really quickly.
Mhm.
So I got to know Beck in the chat a little bit, and I think we mostly got along, and I don't think I've had any run-ins with Beck where things are terrible at all, but we were like people were kind of like throwing around and joking around about whether people are one pronoun or another, and I'm like honestly I don't know whether you as a woman, a man, trans or not, like I just don't know. And I mentioned Beck in the conversation, and Beck's like, well, do you think I'm a man or a woman? And I said, like, honestly, I'm just assuming you're a man, but I don't know, and I'm not. I haven't got a clue. And I didn't realize that Beck has transitioned,
Yes,
and
probably like the biggest compliment he'd gotten all day, honestly.
well, maybe so. But he asked me like what I thought, honestly, and I
Mhm.
said no, I would presume, but my kids keep reminding me that this is where we're at. Like we have to not presume things. We have to not make assumptions. And just because someone presents as a certain thing, that doesn't mean they're that. And I also, yeah, Ember, well, like when you're stopped somewhere, we're gonna get you on here. And I know Ember has a lot of good takes on shit.
Look,
And
this is
they
why
are
people don't like stream and read the chat. You gotta stay on one thing.
yeah,
No,
yeah.
because
I
I think
can't
you
do
had a
this.
really good thing
Can't
there,
do this.
where you're talking about. The thing is, and Ember was in a chat that when I was arguing with, I guess a trans woman who had a male name,
Okay.
and I when I'm talking to somebody, it's always you. So I hadn't really been using other pronouns. But then
Okay.
I switched to Bree, and I was like, da da da, he. And for the record, you're just a he unless you have a female avatar or tell me something else. Um, because, like,
Yeah,
I don't know. For me, it's
I don't
just like
think
he
people are
is the
gonna look at
default. But we all have a
me and my name and not make an assumption, right? Like that's just the way it
right,
is.
and that is the default. We're not to the
Yeah.
point in society yet where, like, we're not at a default. And I think that most people of the trans community, and I love your kids for trying, and I hope that they all, well, I don't know. That is just so much work. Every single time I meet anybody, I have to remember, I have to ask them, what's your name? What are your pronouns? And da da
Yeah.
da da. But like, I think most people present the way they want to be addressed. If I see someone who's ambiguous, I go to they, and that's
Yeah.
usually their pronouns. Um, if you look very feminine and you're like, no, I'm a he, sorry,
Yeah.
I'll adjust. But most people do present the way they want to be addressed. So, I mean, I don't think you should beat up on yourself too bad unless it's like a repeated pattern. Like I beat up on myself for Ember because I keep misgendering them. And I believe it's because of the way they present, and it's just, I have old brain.
Yeah.
So, you know,
I have the same problem, and
but
I've had
yeah,
to
but that's
really
because I keep
work hard.
misgendering Ember. But like with
Yeah.
Brie, I don't think I've ever misgendered her. Because I mean, clearly
I
this
don't
is a
think I have
woman,
either. Yeah,
and
because Bree's a
yeah,
woman. I realized that from what I understand, Bree's a trans woman, but I don't think there's any need to make the distinction. Bree's a woman.
right.
And that's how they present. And Ember, I know Ember's getting a lag signal, and he's in West Texas, and you know, I think he should listen to James McMurtry while he's out there in the Choctaw Bingo, which is wildly inappropriate but super hilarious. Um, and hopefully he'll appreciate that. I do recommend listening to that with like a big salt lick, because it's offensive as fuck. Um, to everybody though. I think he offends everyone. Um, so yeah, like Ember has, I think, made it clear that A, they prefer they,
Yes.
and B, they're going to take zero offense if they're misgendered, because they realize that people jump to these conclusions and are not trying to use that as a way to attack people. And so Ember is, I think, a great icon of our community, because they realize what reality is. They realize that in reality, people are gonna have lived in a society where gender presentation is a certain way, and I think that's just the way it is, right? Um, I appreciate the fact that Ember's not gonna have unrealistic um expectations of what the community is gonna do,
Hmm.
right? And I don't like. I find I've said this before. I got to stop saying it. Maybe if people want me to stop saying this, put a 9 in the chat. Um, I feel like I present as an almost like caricature of male in my presentation, because I'm large, I'm hairy, I have a fairly deep voice for someone with low T levels, and I have, a beard and a bald head, and I'm this, right?
Yeah, I don't know
That's
about
not
male. If you like, if I think man, I think you. But when I think lumberjack, 100%.
okay. Well, and lumberjack doesn't necessarily mean
No,
male, but
absolutely.
I
No, it
believe
doesn't. But most
lumberjill may
people
be the feminine for lumberjack. I'm not sure.
heard that a few times. No, I'm not saying that all lumberjacks are male. I'm saying when
Yeah.
I think of a stereotypical lumberjack, I'm more
Yeah,
likely to
no,
think of
and there are only the three jobs that anyone has in Canada: lumberjack, fisher person, and the truck drivers that bring the fish to the lumberjacks and the lumber to the fishermen, or people. Fisherman's a weird one, because like like the CBC, our national broadcast company, calls them fishers, but everyone else calls them fishermen.
Okay, fishers.
And I think the three female fishermen that are out there
Mhm.
probably have bigger problems.
Right. Yeah,
No,
there's
it's
well, even in the what do you call it? The restaurant community, there's a big push to say servers instead of
yeah,
wait
instead of waiter,
staff instead
waitress,
of
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I know that, and it's important that we don't
I never
because
like
like postal
yeah, I mean, me
carriers.
personally, like if you called me a waiter instead of a waitress, like I like it wouldn't have even registered, honestly.
Yeah.
But yeah, server, but
Server
it's
makes
never
sense.
been a servestress, so I guess
Yeah, have you
it's the more PC word.
yeah, I know I believe you said, and I don't want to dox you or anything, but I believe you said you work in like an HR type
I'm an
position.
HR now, yeah.
Yeah,
When
okay.
I was in college, I was a waitress, or I'm
Okay,
sorry,
so
the
you
wait
worked in the
staff.
like food
Service
service industry.
industry for yeah,
Yeah.
15 years.
For how many?
15.
15. Yeah, that's a long time. And
Yeah, it really
that is a
is.
rough industry.
It really
I don't think
is.
people realize
Oh,
what
it's
goes into it.
horrible. I mean, it
Yeah.
could be. I there are pros and cons. I actually didn't like server because it felt too close to servant, which is how I
Yeah.
felt most of the time.
Yeah,
Like it wasn't
language can be
affirming at all
loaded.
for me.
Yeah, language can be loaded, and servant as a as a word is like, and I believe a lot of people in the community have been in I don't know about in this chat specifically right now, but I believe a lot of people in our community have also been servicemen and women in the armed forces in my country, in your country, and in others. And we talk about thank you for your service, right? And that's something I believe in. Yesterday was Remembrance Day here, Veterans Day in the U.S. I'm not sure what other ceremonies or observances there are around the world, but I was thinking about that, and I did a little post yesterday to hopefully people take it as intended, which is to thank and appreciate people that have served their country to defend it, because I think there's lots to be said about right and wrong in the defense industry as like a military industrial complex, but the people that go and do it, man, they're giving in their all, and
Yeah.
and they give their mental health, their physical health, and their lives, and literally in many cases. So like, and they're treated like crap here. I think they're maybe treated like crap in the US. I think they maybe get more Armistice Day. Is that the one, Ember? Thank you for pointing that out. I'll have to Google that. I'm not going to do it now because I'll get distracted. I'll take us on a really long winding road. My favorite kind of road on my motorcycle. My least favorite road when I'm loaded with a giant crane, and I can talk about that another time. But yeah, yeah, this is something that's important that we need to worry about that. Okay, so PC is saying, okay, um, I, I'm assuming she's talking about Ember, but
No, you.
is it
You were
me?
saying that
Okay,
you're like stereotypical male.
I'm a stereotypical male, yeah. So see, like, and I actually, so I've talked to other people in the community, not in this circle exactly, but I've talked to people that like literally their perception of men is toxic. Well, thank you, pragmatic Crystal. I appreciate that. I do want to have yeah, occasionally get yeah. So Ember, you are one of our former service people that are in the community. I think I sort of remembered that, and I know Commander worked with something. Do something else. Do something else. I don't know what that means. Do something else. Commander wants us to stop doing this. I'm not sure. Commander, make more comments, please. I want to know what that means. But I think Commander worked in the defense contract industry. Um, federal military. Yes. Okay. Yes. That's it. That's it. Okay, I'm missing something from this comment, but that yeah, and I actually so I don't usually work with that, but my understanding is that where I work does have a contract to transport military equipment, so it may come up at some point. Um and I kind of expect that stuff like that will come up more and more, because I think that stuff's getting bigger and bigger. And I sometimes truck in and out of communities where the defense industry is huge, because that's where the big military bases are. And with Canada being what it is, geographically, there's a lot of defense based communities sort of peppered around, and they tend to be pretty far from big cities, but they're close enough that like an hour and a half drive will get you to some big centers. And the Air Force, like I drive past one of our biggest Air Force bases in the country, like at least once or twice a month, sometimes once a week, because of the way this place is. So I end up seeing a lot of service people driving up and down the road, driving their equipment up and down the road, or I see contractors that are moving their equipment. So, and when I see more of it, I know stuff happening, right? So, yeah.
So Commander says I've never served under arms.
Yeah, never served under arms. I mean, yeah. So, but you've
is it a hierarchy in the military?
Yeah. Is there a hierarchy? Yes, but I think what Commander
no, not a standard hierarchy, but like I'm a soldier. I'm a soldier. You didn't serve during wartime, so you're not a soldier. Like
yeah, that's right. Yeah, so you'll see some of that, right? But
that's bullshit.
Yeah, and you know what? I think the thing is, if you've signed up and you're there, whether you go to a war, or whether it's a big war or a small war, or whether whether you're shot at or not, does it make a difference? Fuck yeah, it makes a difference, but it doesn't change the validity of your service. But yeah, I think
the one where I talked about how I used to work for defense contractors. If we didn't need arms, I would go and do something else. Oh, okay. I see what he's saying. When he was saying do something else. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so sorry, Commander. Like I lost track of the chat.
Well, there. I mean, because he put it up during, I think there's like a slight lag. There's a what is it, latency, and so I wasn't really sure which of our comments he was responding to when he said that, and so he's like, "Oh no, when you're talking about this." So I was like, "Okay, caught up now."
Yeah, no, there's this is a thing that happens, right? This is part of this. So.
No, so yeah. Which is why I don't talk to the comments if I can get around it.
I'm going to come back to this comment right here. This one right here. PC's comment. Because my brain is fucked up in a lot of ways. If you don't believe me, just try to talk to Dr. Tapioca Weasel and you'll find out. Because I've told him what some of the fucked up thoughts I have, so I can try to convince him to come on my show and talk about weird science shit. But so my heart's full of love and compassion. Stereotypical, like the idea that stereotypical male perception and being someone who can love and have compassion, like are at odds with one another, is a terrible place to be. And I'd be offended if it weren't for the fact that I know what you mean. And I hear people say like things like the average male, the average man in our society is possessing of toxic masculinity. My wife constantly, and I love my wife, and I joke around with her about this. She talks about me when I'm mansplaining something, and I'm like, I can't mansplain something if I'm using my mouth and not my genitalia, because then I'm just talking about something I'm interested in. And I understand mansplaining to be when someone who's male assumes they know more than a woman in the same thing. But usually if I'm doing what my wife calls mansplaining, what she really means is I'm talking about something she's bored about and doesn't want to hear.
Yeah, no, that's just you being boring.
That's me. Look, will you shut up about motorcycles? Will you shut up about trucks? That's what she means when she says mansplaining. She doesn't mean like, why are you, like my wife's a teacher. It's like, it wouldn't be like me saying, well, if you're teaching kids, this is what you should do. Because that's not my take on things. I'm like, well, that's what you're an expert in. What would you do in this situation?
I get it.
So like, I don't know about that one, but I feel like someone who, I had no idea when I was a younger man in my 20s. I had no idea that I would want to be a father. Like, it didn't occur to me. And my wife talked about, wanting to have kids, and we weren't sure we could have kids right away. Like when we first got together, my wife had some stuff going on. I'd never really researched it. I already knew I had some health issues. I was a little worried about it. But we were told like maybe it might not work out, and we were lucky enough to have 2 kids naturally. And I have a really good friend who's had to pay tens of thousands of dollars and lots of failed attempts and lots of heartbreak to get to the point where he actually has a beautiful young child with his wife. And so, and the love that people have for their partners and for their children and what they want to do for them, and honestly, like, I wouldn't have to work as hard as I do if I didn't have kids. I could work less and still live a comfortable life. I want my kids to have the best I can do, right? So, like, my passion for working and getting stuff done is partly because I'm in something I enjoy doing, but it's mostly because I want to pay the bills and I want my kids to have stuff that helps them, right? Did not have my only son until I was 30 years old. Yeah, and that was a surprise, PC. Well, you know what? My both of my kids were born after I was 30, which I guess as a guy isn't as
No, it's
much
pretty
of a
normal.
potential issue, but like 30s are not old.
No, the
Um,
average age of having a first child is going up, and
yeah,
again, thanks capitalism.
yeah, because women have to join the workforce, which is not a problem. Like, I'm not talking about like a feminist or
Well,
anti-feminist
yeah,
position,
but like, yeah,
but
back in the
there's a
day,
demand to
right,
be
right.
this and be a mom and look after everything in the house. And I'm sure that I'm not as good a I'm not as good a man um as I could be in terms of like helping in the house because I'm out of the house a lot.
Hmm.
But I do try to help with, and help is the wrong word. People dislike that word. I understand why. But I try to, when I'm home, I try to not just bring in what I've got. Um and okay, I'm gonna understand what Commander said in a second. I
You
gotta
gotta
stop
stop
reading
reading
this
the
chat one
comments while
second.
you're in mid
Fuck.
sentence.
Maya,
You already know that you have an issue with that.
Take your shirt back off so I can stare straight ahead. Um, is that wildly inappropriate? I think it is.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think
pretty much.
I
You're
think
pretty
that should
misogynist.
that
But
that should,
we're
I
back
have a
in. Come
sickness,
on.
yes.
You're talking
Yeah,
about
so but it's I want to make the laundry happen. I want to get the dishes done. I want to get the kids to their activities. I want to help parent them. I want to make sure my kids get to their appointments. And I take time out of work, and it's something I can do with my job. As long as I'm available to work enough days that I get paid enough to pay the bills, my work will let me just take a day off as long as I ask in advance. That's a great thing to have, right? I work, and it's not something I didn't have before. Like when I ran my own business, I could take the time, but I would literally be talking on the phone or emailing and stuff right up to the point of the thing. I would deal with what I had to for 15 minutes, and then I'd turn around and walk away, or I would walk out of appointments and let someone deal with my kid while I took another call. I don't have to do that now with the job I have. With the job I have now, I'm there and I'm present for that. Um, but I would guarantee if someone were to audit the time spent, my wife spends more time with the kids and she does more of the stuff around the house. But I absolutely feel like it's important to not equate masculinity with not being compassionate, not being loving. Loving my wife and being compassionate for her was maybe one of the first things I learned about in my relationship with her and our family. But I also learned a lot about having children, like having a baby and learning how to deal with that, and then having my second child, my son, who's a special needs kid, gave me another view again,
hmm
and opened my eyes to things. And yeah, the fact that I think what Commander is getting at is some sort of stereotypical masculinity bullshit, and I'll talk about that in 2 seconds. But being a man isn't about like going around and taking women for your sexual pleasure and being an absolute dick to everybody and trying to be a leader by asserting dominance with bullshit. Like, you lead, and I was forced to become a leader in business. Unfortunately, it wasn't something I really wanted to do, and people have told me I'm a leader, and I think maybe I've just started doing it, and it's a problem I have at work now because I try to. Oh, Pragmatic Crystal, thank you for being here, and I'm sorry you have to run, but thank you for being here. Appreciate it.
Hey,
Um,
PC. Hopefully, we'll see
yeah,
you in the chats later.
yeah, absolutely. Well, PC isn't entirely ubiquitous, but they're frequent, and we love them.
Yeah.
We love them. We love when they're here. So So like when I think about these stereotypical things people say what leadership is, leadership is not about being a dominant asshole. Sometimes you have to be tough because people or things are out of line, and you've got to deal with that. And it's okay to be tough with that. It's okay to draw a hard line. But being an asshole isn't what it's about. Hi, Titan.
Yeah, I mean, and I like Commander. Oh my God, Commander 401 was saying that, and I was like, oh my God, I love dating Jewish guys. Like
I've never
your
dated a
thought.
Jewish guy.
No, yeah, I think everybody should. They're amazing. They
You know what? I
actually
think
care
my
about.
wife will not be happy if I date a Jewish guy or maybe even a Jewish woman. But yeah, I'm done with
I
dating
can't
except
speak
my
to
wife.
Jewish women, but Jewish
Yeah,
men, though at
I
least the
can't
ones
either.
I've dated, just very like my thoughts matter, and which is very affirming. And I don't know. As Americans, we're very individualistic, and I think we're getting to be way too self-centered. I mean, I don't think people understand what it's like to like have somebody actually like listen to you and remember what you say and incorporate it
Mm,
into their life. It means everything to people. And our culture, and I don't know if it's movies or what, where it's just like, leaders are people who say, okay, all of you get in line. I've got the great idea and we're going to move, we're going to go this way. And everybody's like, yeah. And, it's all about like, I don't know, kind of like this savior complex where everybody's like, and I notice this in politics too, where it's just like, well, you know, AOC is going to be our savior, Bernie's going to be our savior, or
no.
whoever, Trump is going to be our savior. And I keep saying to people, I'm like, our system isn't designed for one person to do all the work.
Yeah.
We are our own saviors, and I. But people get this individual thing, like I am only great if I can stand out and be recognized for my greatness. But like
Yeah.
true leadership, what I find, just even being in HR, is me going to different departments, partnering with you. What is it that you need from me? And
Mm,
then doing more or less a SWOT analysis where it's just like, okay, this is where you are. This is where you say you want to be. This is what I say are your gaps. If you work with me, I can get you where you want. And it's not the Maya show. Um, I just have the plan. Like I'm holding the map, but we're getting you
yeah.
to your destination. And I think that people don't understand or don't really consider what it's like to be in someone else's shoes or value what that is. We are collective beings. We only got to where we were because we worked together. And
Mm,
there's a part of us that intrinsically values that. Um, that teamwork, that camaraderie, that recognition of how I contribute to the group and how the group thrives because of me. And I don't know, as Americans, I wish we could see that more. But I think a lot of like what you're talking about before, like the toxic masculinity is again, men thinking, well, I have to be on top and I have to do this thing. And I'm like,
yeah.
it's not about that. You can get more love by working with people than telling people to step in line and follow you.
Yeah, I think they're misconstruing two concepts that can sometimes seem related when we get overly Wild Kingdom about it.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you remember Lauren Green's Wild Kingdom or whatever it's called,
Yes,
but
I do.
yeah, yeah. But a lot like those videos where they say like this is it's the lion, he's in charge, and it's like no, he's not. He's there to fucking run. The women are but
Right.
but what I think it is that people misconstrue these two terms, dominance and leadership.
Yes.
Dominance is not the right word for leadership.
No.
Leadership comes from when you have a plan to actually not just assemble a team, but actually get them to work together and get the best out of them,
Exactly.
and lead with your example, and lead with your example in such a way that you actually aren't just the leader and the dominant person, but the person who's given other people the tools to also lead, so that if you fall off, other people know what to do in your absence.
Exactly. Yes. That. All of
That's
that.
and that doesn't mean that you're bigger and stronger than someone and you push them down and fuck them in the ass and walk away to show that you're in charge. That doesn't
Hmm.
show that you're in charge. It shows that you're a total dick,
Yeah.
right? It just
Yes.
shows that you have you not only lack the qualities needed for leadership, you lack the brains needed, because you just can't see beyond a display. And is the display worthwhile? Could it do something? Maybe in some certain circumstances, but for most of us, what you end up doing is possibly you engender fear in those that don't think they can take you, and in those that do, you engender this feeling. It's like the first chance I get, I'm getting rid of this fucker. Because
Yeah. No.
that's what my take would be. As someone
And I
who's
like the
large
last
enough to
two.
take people out.
Sorry.
So sorry, go ahead, Maya.
No, I was just saying I like the last two comments were tight and saying leadership can
Mm.
often be choosing to do nothing.
Oh yeah,
Um,
yeah,
and I think a lot of that even kind of goes into allowing failure. And I don't think gets the credit that it deserves. I think people learn more
yeah.
from failure than they do from success. People learn way more from failure than they do
Oh,
from
if you're
success.
success the first time, that's just fucking luck.
That's yeah, exactly.
Don't confuse that with talent.
Right.
Don't confuse
Right.
luck with talent, right?
Right.
Talent is recognizing what you've learned from a failure and not making the same mistake again.
And I
Um,
do understand that's not what you were saying there, but when
yeah,
you said that, it just brought this thing that I say all the fucking time. Like you have to
yeah,
you have to give people the room they need to grow. And
yeah.
failure is part of growth. You know, like, it just is. But
It
then
totally is.
also what Ember was saying, I suspect the toxicness is largely due to internalized damage. Real men don't cry. And yeah, a lot of and what we were talking
Mhm.
about just a little bit earlier with like the toxic masculinity culture, not saying that everything masculine is toxic, just saying that, you know, when you are damaging a person from being who they truly are and who they need to be because of this stereotype of what they should be, it's toxic.
Yeah,
And
absolutely it is.
and not I mean
Yeah,
it is self damaging, but it's not doing anyone in society any favors, certainly not, you know, their families, their community, their jobs, you know, so on and so forth. But
yeah.
yeah, we have a lot of deep thinkers in the chat. I love
No,
them.
you
I
know
love
what?
everyone.
Even though we sometimes, I think there's disagreements too sometimes with what's said, but I think a lot of the insights that people have from being from different places, I think we gain a lot from people having different perspectives. And I actually, I think I mentioned before really briefly that I spent part of last week writing an article for Obesity Canada, which is the organization I work with, and want to sort of help promote their stuff. And I go to speak. I've started doing that this year, but I also speak as just a participant in there. They have a special thing. It's kind of like a Facebook chat group, but it's a little more private and secure than like a
Hmm.
Facebook thing, which is important because I've seen Facebook sort of turn into a shit show recently. Um, but I started writing this article, and the article was really about and you reminded me of this earlier in the thing, and I made a mental note, and somehow I got this tangent come back to me, which is tangents are my main thing.
Kind of
But
noticed that.
yeah, and I'm getting this tangent right here. I'm bringing this one back, and when I've talked to Dr. Tapp, this is my gravitational pull to get tangent to, like, I know it started out in a straight line, but then I got gravity to bend it back and bring it back into the conversation, and so what I was talking about is, like, people have often said, um, being overweight, being fat, being construed this way is okay if you're a man, but it's really hard if you're a woman.
Hmm.
And I'm like, I was thinking about that, and I was like, that might be true if you're a guy that's like a little bit overweight, but when you're my size, that's not true, but guys my size aren't participating in the conversation. They're not there in this chat. They're not there at these things. They have to go out of their way to find an even number. Like the number is something like, I can't remember what it is, something like 56, 44%. Like 56% of the people living with obesity are female in this country, which is Canada. I don't know what it is in the US. And this perception that it's just easier to do if you're a man that might be true. But easier doesn't mean easy. It just means not quite as hard. And I find that is also tied to this. And so I started asking point blank this question, like, why are no men in this conversation? Why am I literally some weeks the only person with male genitalia commenting at all in this conversation? And a couple of the female people responded and said, like, I think men are taught to just solve their own problems and not talk to people and not work together on solving this type of problem, and not to complain about it and not be there in this conversation. And I'm like, okay, so that means these men have been taught not to be leaders, and I've been accused.
Well,
of
yeah,
being
and asking for help is a sign of weakness.
Yeah. Titan saying cool stuff again.
Mm-hmm.
I on this screen, I'm now realizing to being large. Yeah, maybe I would be because I'm not super tall, so maybe if I wasn't so big, I wouldn't feel masculine. That could be interesting.
I was thinking, what was my original thought? I don't know. Maybe it'll come back to me. Maybe it won't. Fuck it.
Yeah.
I was actually just talking to, I think, was it Bree and Jenna the other day about like I'm aro ace, so like I don't really understand attraction. So like in my head, I'm just assuming that attraction is when you look at somebody's face and get horny.
Sorry, Maya, can you explain that one more time, please? I missed a small part of what you said. I just heard attraction and looking at a face.
And then you heard horny and you came back to the conversation. Yeah, that's usually how it goes.
Okay.
No, I said I'm aro ace, so I don't experience attraction at all. And the best I can, from what I can determine, attraction is when you look at someone's face and get horny. And I don't know, please correct me if I'm wrong, because I have no idea what that's like. But
okay.
What I have noticed though is that I feel more comfortable with guys that have like dad bods. And and it's not like an attraction. It's not like, my tits get hard when I see a dad bod. It is more of like a mental easing. Like I feel comfortable around this man, more comfortable around this man than I do with that man. It's like, if you were in a zombie apocalypse, you'd feel more comfortable with the guy with a gun than, I don't know, maybe the ninja.
Yeah, like
or maybe not. I don't know.
Situation,
it's just more of like being comfortable. And I was just like, well, what is that? And I'm like, oh, I've attached. I don't know. My dad obviously had a dad bod, and I've noticed that it's I don't know, for women my age, it's like a trend or something, but it's more of the stability, and which I guess you could see as masculinity, but it's like being associated with being stable, being even like financially free, but because it reminds women of that time when they had that carefree life, when there wasn't like these all the worries of the world, and if there was a worry in the world, I could just run to my dad and he would fight them for me. And so there's been this like kind of trend towards dad bod, but kind of in a greater scale, I think that when people like to be black and white, and so dad bod equals masculinity, and therefore bigger guys are more masculine, and that could be what you're thinking.
Yeah. I mean, like, and I guess like
and I'm not saying all of that.
No, and I like when I was younger and more physically fit, or and I don't know if I was more physically fit. I wasn't necessarily stronger. I was strong though, and I was strong in a smaller body because I had less body fat and more muscle, right? And so yeah, I guess like I was still strong, right? And I don't know if anybody actually found me attractive. I think what I've done, and my wife said when we met, like shortly after, but not immediately. She didn't lead with this. She said, like, when I saw your picture on the, because we met on a dating site, but I actually had forgotten I had a dating profile up there. I mean, I sort of knew in the back of my mind, but I sort of let it go for 6 months, and then she reached out to me, and here we are, 20 years later, we're married with 2 kids and everything. But my point in that is that she said, I didn't like your photo so much. Like, it didn't attract me. It wasn't what I thought I'd be attracted to. But she told me, like, a couple months later, she's like, it wasn't your photo, it wasn't how you looked or anything that attracted me. It was like who you were as a person, your confidence, and how you were. And I think Sumami, sorry, I got to pronounce that right. Constantly read that wrong.
Yeah.
I've taught my autocorrect to spell it correctly, but I can't say it correctly. But yeah, Sumami is talking about that, like that Gordon Ramsay guy who, like, I don't know, I guess he's kind of a jerk, but he's also he is a commanding person, and he wants, I haven't watched a lot of his stuff, but he just wants stuff done right. And he but his, I think the way he carries himself is a lot more about the, doing it for TV and stuff. I don't know if he's actually like that. And Sumami's talking about dating women as to visceral, whereas men are, and non-binary people, the way they handle themselves. That's interesting. Titan is talking about, I don't know what Titan's saying here because I gotta read this. But they're talking about,
well, it's a string. It's kind of a string. It's
yeah.
You have to say the first one, and then that's a continuation.
Yeah. So I'm gonna.
He's just saying that. Oh God, I think it's a demi.
Sorry.
Yeah, I think what Titan is saying is that he's demisexual, but
okay, yeah. So I don't even understand how that stuff is, but you know what? Yeah, I appreciate what Titan's saying is that a lovely person is a lovely person, and that is attractive. So now I'm gonna do something terrible, and I'm gonna stop my stream because my family has got stuff going on upstairs, and I've been doing this for an hour and a half, and I hope that's long enough.
Be with the family.
I do want to spend some time with my family. I love doing this. I love having these conversations, and I don't have these conversations with my family because it's not what they're into. It's what I'm into. So I took this time. I really appreciate you being here. It's the first time ever on my show, is it? But you've definitely been in my comments section.
Yeah.
And I don't have a regular time for my show. I just do it when I do it. But I love the conversation and the people that have come to talk in the chat. I appreciate it a ton. And I appreciate anybody who comes to watch this later. And people have anybody that's here to watch this has learned a lot. And Maya's added so much to it that just fast forward to the part where Maya's on it and ignore the part where I was here. She made the whole show. It was awesome.
It was trying awesome. To keep you on topic. Goodness.
We're gonna pick. You can't keep me on topic. I just, you know what? I'm the only way to keep me focused is to like lock me up in a room with like nothing. And even then,
I know. See, you already forgot that you wanted to spend time with your family. Log off.
I'm getting out of here. I want to thank everyone for coming. I'm going in and out with this background, but I love everybody here. I love everybody that comes to talk, and I love the chats, not just here but everywhere. So thank you to everyone, and thank you, Maya, for being a wonderful and gracious guest here. And thank you to everyone in the chat again. I'm going to end this because I got to press a button and then press another button.